also, you've actually worked with Keanu Reeves twice as well, haven't you? You worked with him in John Wick 3, and you
I
also
have.
worked with
I've
him
worked
in.
with Keanu Reeves. Keanu, I have to say, and I say this time after time, he's the nicest person I've ever met, and I'm sure you've heard this time and time again from lots of other people. He's just a thoroughly kind human being. On any film set, you may have 150 to 200 cast and crew working together
Yeah,
to make sure that everything is synchronized and timed well for big production. So you'd have someone in charge of your wardrobe, your makeup, your food, your comfort, everything. But Keanu Reeves, he would come up to me and pull up a chair and says, "Come on, sit down, let's have a chat." And thoroughly kind, thoroughly nice person. And I remember one occasion after we finished shooting, I had to go to a makeup room to get my makeup removed. And I had quite an extensive cuts on my body, so it took about an hour and a half to remove the makeup. And by that time, the guy who locked my room, he had disappeared to Beijing with someone for dinner. So I was locked outside my room for an hour and a half. But my room was right next to Keanu Reeves's room. So when he saw me standing outside my room, he said, come in until they arrive." So I spent the entire hour and a half chatting to him, asking him loads of questions. And he turned out to be one of the nicest people I've ever worked with. Very kind,
every,
very
yeah,
considerate.
yeah. Everyone has said that about him as well. You've never heard one bad thing about Keanu Reeves. He's very kind. He is very generous, like everybody's said. Even Mark Dacascos said the same thing about him because he worked on John Wick 3 as well. Did you get to meet Mark Dacascos as well at the time, or?
No, no, I haven't. No.
Yeah, you haven't met him yet because Mark's just another mind-blowing martial artist as well. I mean, first time I ever saw him was in the movie Only the Strong, especially when he did that butterfly twist. You just always say the same thing. How on earth is that possible when you do that? But yeah, but obviously, like I said, back to Keanu Reeves. Like I say, he takes care of absolutely everybody on the set. Because I can remember this one story where he heard somebody was going to lose their house, and he quickly, immediately paid up and paid it off for them,
Right,
didn't they? And it was like,
right.
to him, and I saw another clip of him where he was on the subway, and the same thing. It's a kind little generosity. You get up and you give the chair to somebody, go and just sit down, take a load off and everything. And people underestimate the power of doing a good deed, but when you do something like that, it means a lot to people because to them it's happiness, isn't it?
Of course, he leaves he leaves a very good energy behind, very good residue behind. Makes you feel good, a good vibe, and he really thoroughly was a nice person. I remember when he invited me to come and shoot Man of Tai Chi with him. Um, he popped up on Zoom. I was in my office at the time, and he went, "Hey, Silvio, how are you?" And he said, "Why didn't you fly over to China a week before so you acclimatized to the time difference?" So
Yeah.
I flew off to China a week before we started shooting to acclimatize to time difference. But unfortunately, this time around, I didn't. I was so jet lagged for a whole week. I'll tell you a funny story now because you may
Okay.
remember I'm fighting Tiger Chan
Oh
and he's
yeah, yeah,
fighting me on the floor. I am on the floor, he's punching me. I was so tired and exhausted from being jet lagged. At one point, I fell asleep on the floor because it was a very, very long take. I fell asleep on the floor. I just could not bear it anymore. But that was one of those embarrassing moments on film set. I fell asleep during the shoot itself because although I had a week to acclimatize to time difference, the jet lag was way too powerful. But
it can have an effect
Keanu
on
Reeves,
people. Yeah.
he very much got Keanu Reeves very much got inspired from working with Yuen Ping on Matrix 1, 2, and 3. So he wanted to direct something himself of same kind of caliber when it came to action. So he teamed up with Yuen Ping's team and Tiger Chan to do Man of Tai Chi
Yeah.
with the same action team.
Oh, awesome as well, because you got to work with some very great people as well. But with the Keanu Reeves directing, that must have been you wasn't feeling intimidated by that, and was he just obviously he's very like we mentioned before, and he's very kind towards everybody. Was he like, okay, if you have any ideas, throw them my way as well?
I remember I had GQ magazine wanted to invite him to Turkey because he won Man of the Year award in Turkish GQ magazine. And my
Yes.
friend contacted me from GQ. She said to me, "Can you please get him to come to Turkey? We're going to pay him very well." And so I had to have a chat with him. I said, "Keanu, can we have a chat, please?" So he pulls up his director's chair, pulls it up, and he said to me, "Take a seat." And I said, "I can't take a seat. It says Keanu Reeves on your chair." He said, "Look, when a director tells you to take his chair, you take his chair." He sat me down, and yeah, what an amazing guy, really amazing guy. I've got good memories with him.
That I can imagine as well. I mean, I'd love to talk to him one day because I can remember when John Wick 3 came out. When I was looking at the list of who's coming in there and everything. That was just epic. Because I remember Scott was saying, "Oh, they got to put me in John Wick movie," and then he comes in part four, and I was like, when I looked at him, I was like, "Is that Scott Adkins?" And you see, because he's got all that prosthetic on him and everything. But
Right, right.
Scott, without a doubt, pulled that role off very well. So you have managed to you've trained with a lot of people as well. I mean, what is some of the best lessons and advice that you've learned from all these big legends you've had the opportunity of working with?
I think it's pretty much a cliche advice that most people give you is keep going, keep pushing through. Lots of people are going to come along the way and not believe in you or put you down, or you've got to believe in yourself and keep moving forwards. But you've got to work extremely hard, extremely hard. It's success is never a straight line. You have your ups and downs. You have periods of lots and lots of work, and then you might not be working for 6 months. So you've got to be emotionally quite resilient and not take things too personal, because in life, failure is inevitable, but defeat is optional. And that's one of the things you learn through acting and through show business as well as martial arts. Uh, as warrior, you're going to get knocked down many times, but it's not how many times you win, but how many times you pick yourself up and keep moving forward, which counts for your life's trials and tribulations and success.
That is great words of wisdom there, Sylvia. Because there is always going to be times where you will come across people who will always say, "You can't do this, you can't do that, you'll never achieve this, you'll never achieve that." It's because they can't achieve anything themselves. They're too wrapped up in their little bubble, their comfort zone. But what most people don't seem to understand is the comfort zone is where the dreams go to die. Because you could give
Of
somebody,
course,
yeah, I can remember this one quote where I read was, if you give somebody regular income, you give them countless entertainment, you give them a somewhat of an active dating lifestyle, all their ambitions will go out the window, because the comfort zone is where the dreams go to die. Because
for
you will have
sure.
nothing to live for. You will have nothing to live. You will only exist, but you will never live. There's a complete different aspect of both things.
And I also think this is why we will be facing many problems with next generation, because as the saying goes, uh, tough times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create terrible times. And we've had it too good for too long, living within the comfort zone. Everything's been about comfort and convenience.
Yeah.
Today's kids, for instance, they're not accountable for anything. You can't fail at all. Sports days, every single kid gets a medal. You can't fail your exams, you still progress forwards. And I noticed it within my martial arts school. Sometimes when kids fail, they just can't handle failure because they've never experienced failure in their life, because their parents keep them in their bubble of comfort zone.
Yeah.
Comfort and convenience don't create strong men. It creates a society which is emotionally very weak and they can't handle failure. But as I mentioned earlier on, failure is an inevitable part of life.
Yes.
When I go to gym every day, I fail every day, but that's what makes me stronger. That failure, when I fail in the gym, that's what makes me stronger. But that's what life is about. And I think in life, rather than teaching kids how to succeed, we should teach them how to handle failures, because you will fail more times than succeed, because it's never a straight line.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, I remember this one great quote somebody once said to me about fail. Meaning of the word fail: first attempt in learning. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. I couldn't
Correct.
believe that. I never understood it. I never looked at it like that. But it's, nowadays people don't usually look at the fact that, oh, I failed something. That's it. They're thrown in the towel and that's it. You go off and you just cry yourself to sleep, and then you wake up the next morning, you're still crying. "No, I can't get out of bed. I'm afraid of failing." But look at it like this: you've learned something. You failed once. Learn from that failure, adapt it, and take the lesson again, and then you'll achieve some success.